Hey everyone, hope everyone's doing well today. The topic for today's video is a topic that is, I would say, rarely discussed. And is it possible that the Bible left this out? We'll see. Before I start this video, I just wanted to ask, I got a prayer request, I don't know, it's maybe 2 or 3 videos back, and I haven't looked back to see the name. I'm not going to say a name, but someone asked if I could pray for their, I believe it was for their mental health, and I'm asking that whoever watches this video, if you could also say a prayer for this person for their mental health. And I don't know, is it better that more people pray, do you think? Or if someone asks you to pray one prayer is good enough? I think it's better. Does it make a difference? To tell you the truth, I don't know. I think there are certainly times where things have gone wrong and a whole bunch of people have gotten together and said a prayer, and miracles have happened. So anyway, so please say a prayer for this person's mental health. You don't have to know their name, just say it. The Spirit knows, right? The Spirit will always know who it's towards. So the Bible barely talks about this. So this is one of the things that you would think is left out of the Bible, but I believe I know why. It mentions it just in one little small spot, but to where you and I are living today, and everyone in the modern era with sugar, TV, constant internet, people not moving around, eating so much sugar, addicted to all types of stuff, that this couldn't be more pertinent to the time we're living in right now. And this is why I bring this up. So I'm going to go to a verse. I think you might know what I'm talking about, and I have some good evidence to prove that I'm correct. So this is you've likely all heard this in the New Testament. So this is 1 Timothy chapter 4. I'm just going to go right from the verse. You don't need context on this. For bodily exercise profits a little, but godliness is profitable for all things, having promise of the life that now is, and of that which is to come. This is a faithful saying and worthy of all acceptance. For to this end we both labor and suffer reproach, because we trust in the living God. So let's just stop there. So when you look at that, does it mean that exercise doesn't matter? That's not what it's saying. It's saying that it does profit a bit. That's what it's saying. It profits a little. And what Paul is saying is, he's saying it's more profitable to aspire to godliness, to be more Christ-like, to study the Bible, to do those types of things. Those reflect your life a lot more. But I have some evidence to the contrary. So that's in Paul's time, okay? So when you take a look at 2,000 years ago, they didn't have refined sugar, they didn't have McDonald's, they didn't have these things. Did they have alcohol? Did they have foods that you could indulge in and do those types of things? Absolutely. But anything like today? No. Were there lazy people then? Yes. Obviously the scriptures talk about lazy people, right? And but I don't think they compare anything to what's happening today. So I just want to make sure this is recording. So this couldn't be more pertinent than today. Because in Paul's time, think about this. People had to forage for their food, right? They didn't have air conditioning, they didn't have heating, they didn't have any of these things. They had, they went out in their markets and they were generally poor. I would tend to think that they would be in pretty good shape. They had to probably walk quite a bit. They didn't have cars. My guess is that they were in pretty good shape. That's my guess. That's one thing I didn't look into actually before I made this video. But I think it's just one of those things that you would have to think would be true. People then, if people say, well, people back then died younger, well, the Bible doesn't specifically say that. But one reason people, if they died at earlier ages and stuff like that, was because they didn't have antibiotics. So when they stepped on a nail, right, or they hit a piece of metal and cut themselves and something happened like that, or they got, for instance, a huge one, if they got a fever, right? Remember Jesus heals Peter's mother-in-law from a fever. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's pretty high that people died after having a fever. Today we can use all sorts of stuff for that to bring down the fever. So, just pardon me a sec. So yeah, what Paul's saying here is absolutely true. Our goal is to become more godly and Christ-like through reading the Bible, through being good to people, being faithful to God, right? But in today's age, and it's been for quite some time, I would say at least 100 years, I'm going before the times of refined sugars and all these added stuff in our foods and meats, preservatives. As I was searching, so let me see here. This is what this says. Here Paul compares physical training for an athlete with spiritual training for godliness. He states that physical conditioning is of some importance, but is less important than a godly life. At that time, that's absolutely true, and it's still true today. But, okay, so the reason godliness is more important than physical fitness is due to its eternal value, absolutely. But as these times have, got closer and closer and closer, that exercise value has become more, right? Because it's throwing off our bodies. Because we're in front of the internet, because we're in front of the TV, we're streaming stuff, we're people looking down at their phones and texting, eating the most horrible foods, like what is it? People ordering in foods all the time. I'm an exercise advocate, okay? Excuse me. Sorry, I gotta take a little break in my throat. Just give me a sec. It's like it's trying to cut out. I've been an exercise advocate my whole life. before I got really sick by the age in my mid-20s and especially 30. I would say from age 15 to age 25, let's say, I was in the gym a lot, and at home. I always went on walks, and my walks tended to be very long, sometimes 10 kilometers a night, like with my brother, by myself, or with a friend. My friends tended not to do that that much. But that keeps your life very healthy. And since I've lived here and with all these different pain disorders, I've been doing it faithfully for 5.5 years, every single day, no excuse, except when I had the stomach flu. It benefits, it does. And I'm going to show you something here. As I was looking, as I was trying to look at where do I fit in with groups, and why I make videos about being non-denominational. I absolutely fit in with some groups. I fit in something here, something there, and one of those groups was the Seventh-day Adventists, because I found they were pure people. I like people who want to be pure, who want to stay true to the Bible. And as I was learning, their system and stuff, I came across something that was undeniable, and they were the only group that was advocating staying in shape. And then I started noticing, a lot of popular YouTubers, Christian YouTubers who are accurate with the Bible. I look at them they're in good shape. You can just tell a lot of them. And I just wonder if that's just a thing known. We have to take care of our bodies. Remember, our bodies are our temples. So I know there's people struggling and stuff like that. People who are just coming in. So I'm not talking to people who are just coming into Christianity and learning. Those aren't the groups I'm talking to right now. I'm talking to people who have been born again Christians for quite some time and know their Bible. This is what it says about the Seventh-day Adventists. Okay, this is shocking. I mean, it's shocking, but it's not. So I can't find anything pertaining to Seventh-day Adventists versus other Christian groups. Maybe I'm just not looking hard enough, but this is against the regular population. So it says, in fact, Seventh-day Adventists can live up to 10 years longer, 10 years, than the rest of the U.S. population, which is going down. I don't mean their decade. I mean, the U.S. population is with their preservative foods, refined sugars, it's horrible. And the times we're living in, right? So that's just going to push people more towards drinking pop, eating takeout foods, just eating horrible foods, smoking, drinking. So they focus a lot on lifestyles, diet. Doesn't it just make sense, right? And so the reason I don't think it's really in the Bible is because of the time it was written. These things weren't around. These troubles weren't around. So people like Paul didn't have anything to speak of. Paul couldn't see a picture of people sitting down at a PlayStation with people drinking Cokes and smoking bongs, right? So, what does it say? What is this, the Huffington Post? They're all saying a similar thing. So let's just read what this says. So like, guys, I advocate staying in shape. With my pain that I suffer with, I have 4 pain suicide diseases, and I have other pain disorders too. That's why you see me moving back and forth. That's my spinal disease. There are times where I'm not doing so well. Like in this picture, I'm never really doing well in this picture, okay? And it's hard for me to do when I constantly keep myself busy. That's why I keep myself busy. I work, I do hobbies, I make my food, and my escape is to go out and go for my walk. I go on 2 walks a day. I do a full workout every single morning, and I go further than most people go, but that's for my own reasons. Can you at least bring yourself? Humans were made to walk. Humans were made to hold things. That's why we have hands, to do some exercise. So even Paul knew it back then, right? Statistics have shown that religion makes people happier, but it turns out it can help you live longer too. It just makes sense to combine the both. To go out for a walk, a nice walk. So what I mean is, like, I can feel like I'm going crazy. I suffer with a lot of abdominal pain, and sometimes it gets to a point, like I go to eat my meal, take my pain meds, and then I'm out the door. And I get to the point where I'm in so much pain. But when I start moving and get going and get that endorphin rush going, it absolutely complements the rest of my day. Number one, for an endorphin rush. That's a natural endorphin rush. That's a natural painkiller that everybody needs. So if you go for a walk for half an hour, right? It's not hard to, that's why we have legs. You go walk for half an hour, and then you feel really good for 5 or 6 hours. Sometimes it can ride out the rest of your day. It makes that much of a difference. You don't know it until you do it. There's a lot of lazy people. Okay, there just is. And usually what I find is whenever I walk with someone, I notice in them, because I walk a lot. I've walked a lot in my life. That when I'm with someone walking, about after 20 minutes, I notice their spirits start to pick up. And that's because the endorphin rush is starting to go. I'm going to take a sip here. Just give me a sec. And it goes the same with nutrition too. Nutrition, exercise. You want to keep yourself in good shape. You don't want to be a sloth, right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with eating fast food every once in a while, eating candy every once in a while, and stuff like that. Like the Paul says, don't touch, don't, all that type of stuff. I'm not against that. For me, it would make me sick, but it makes sense to live like a good lifestyle, right? Or at least, try to strive towards that, because it makes learning the Bible, I think, all the better. So stats have shown that religion makes people happier, but it turns out it can help you live longer too. Let's see here. In an attempt to reverse engineer longevity, Dan Buettner has spent years researching the parts of the world where people live much longer than average. Most of those locations are outside the States, no surprise, including Sardinia, Italy, and Okinawa, Japan. But there's one long-living group stateside. It's the Seventh-day Adventists, who live an average, so it must be them in particular, of 10 years longer than the American life expectancy, about 79 years. So this isn't a biased thing. This is written by the Huffington Post, so they're not Seventh-day Adventists. So there you go. It pays to be healthy. It pays to go for, I'm not asking you to go out and go mountain biking, to go and do all sorts of, go skiing, but I'm not telling you not to either. I'm saying at least bring yourself, put your shoes on, and go for a 2-mile walk. If you don't have pain disorders like myself, then you even have less excuse, I think. That is my recommendation for anyone in this world. I make these recommendations for people who suffer like I do. I say, can you bring yourself for a walk? If you can't, then I give them, I'll try to give them a plan to try to get them to that point. But anyways, you get my point, right? So it's not like the Bible doesn't mention this. It says something about it. It's just in the context of that time. In the context of that time, it wasn't necessary to say the things that I have to say today. 10 years is proof that it works. And happy too, right?